What is what is up, everybody? Welcome back to the No Gimmicks here on the DFPN. I am your host, Black Mac, along with the fabulous one, Frankie D. Welcome back to the show. Before we get into the show, doing something a little different tonight. You may notice that we're up on Patreon right now, and for tonight and tonight only, I broadcasted this stream out to the Twitterverse or X, whatever you want to call it. It's now we're live on X. We won't be live on here long. So if you see this on your X feed, and if you're listening to the sounds of our voices right now, do us a favor, go to www.patreon.com/datfeelingpodcast. Follow us. These shows will be broadcasted from there. All right. Afterwards, what we'll do is if we have anything else besides the show, we'll come on the Twitterverse, the X feed, whatever you want to call it. We'll do it live on there, on Facebook, on YouTube. But tonight, I wanted to give you guys a preview of what the show looks like. And afterwards, you can follow us over on the Patreon/DatFeelingPodcast. You can get this show live. But I digress. We also have a Bandcamp. Go to there, datfeeling.bandcamp.com. Subscribe for as little as $3. You get the Dat Feeling music side of that as well. And we also have merch. Go to teespring.com. Search up Dat Feeling Podcast. I'm going to post a new link onto our link tree, and I will share that wherever we have a podcast. And you follow that link tree, you go to our merch store. But, Frankie D.
Mr. Matt, yes, sir.
I won't go into it. We had a hell of an episode of Ahsoka. I won't go into it on. We have the nerds for it, but
right.
Real quick, without going into too much detail.
Right.
Awesome episode, bro. Awesome episode.
Yeah, it was an awesome episode. I had goosebumps watching it. It was the greatest thing I've ever seen in Star Wars in a long time.
Yes.
And that's including the Obi-Wan Kenobi show with Darth Vader's, in return and all that. And I'm gonna tell you right now, and I'm putting it out there that Dave Filoni really captures George's vision of what Star Wars is. And having an actor like Hayden Christensen come back into the Star Wars universe, big deal. Very big deal.
Massive.
And I think Hayden has redeemed himself from what we saw in the prequel trilogy, because a lot of people had a problem with, his acting, but people didn't understand the psychology of what he was directed to do by George Lucas.
Right.
And George Lucas wasn't a director in the traditional sense. So I think Hayden's come back, and Hayden's really been accepted by the Star Wars fandom and the universe and all of that. And you just have really a much needed and much appreciated view of the prequels now that the sequel trilogy sucked ass. We appreciate the prequel trilogy more. And yeah. And I love the episode, and we're not gonna get into any spoilers here in case you haven't watched it. But if you have not watched it, go on Disney Plus, Ahsoka, and check it out. Also, stay tuned this Monday right here on the DFPN's Patreon. We got the United States, what is it? USDN, United States Department of Nerds. Yeah, that's right. They're going to be doing their show, and Frankie D might pop in on that to go further in depth about Ahsoka Episode 5. Once again, people, this show, Ahsoka, has been kind of slow to me, but we have gotten some really good characters out of this show. Baylan Skoll is one of my favorites, played by the late Ray Stevenson.
Dope character.
Shin Hati is another one that I'm digging. She just, I don't know, man. It's just with me when it comes to the Star Wars and all and just the lore and the characters, whatever. I love the story of someone was who has fallen from the fallen from the light side and goes to the dark side, and then can be later redeemed. I love
Right.
that story. So I enjoy it. We can have debates all day long. Me and Mac were having a debate, before we started here about Anakin and Luke Skywalker. But it's just a debate, you know what I mean? It's
Yep.
fun stuff to talk about. It's fun. So check out the United States Department of Nerds this Monday on Patreon, and we're gonna get down and dirty. 7 p.m. I think it's what is it, 7 p.m. Central or 7 p.m. Eastern? Not
7
sure what
p.m.
time.
Central.
7
8
p.m.
p.m.
Central,
Eastern. Yep.
8 p.m. Eastern. There you go. So check it out, and they're going to talk about it, and it's going to be a good show because this is leading up to something big. Trust me.
Yes.
So leading up to something really big, and I was this episode was going to be special because this episode was shown in select theaters around the country.
Right.
So they actually showed it out in Dallas. Was one of the places. It was going to be shown here in San Antonio, but it got pulled or something. I don't know what happened because I was looking for tickets. I was going to go to the theater and see it. It was big. So you already knew, and on top of that, Dave Filoni directed this one himself. So you already knew
got his hands dirty.
Yeah, it was going to be something big. Yeah. So he directed this episode. Rosario Dawson, who plays Ahsoka Tano, in case you guys don't know, you should know. She said that this was her favorite episode, and basically because she got to reunite with her long lost friend from acting school, Hayden Christensen.
Yeah.
So it was great. Check out the United States Department of Nerds this coming Monday, 7 p.m. Central Time, Patreon exclusive. They're gonna break it down, and Frank D might do a pop in, as Bobby Hill said back in there, pop in. So, other than that, want to send a shout out to my man Tony Snow, Snowman Enterprises out there doing his thing. The Snowman Enterprises is just the faction just keeps growing.
Bro, they come out here. They come out here to MPX. Shout out to MPX. It's one of the more entertaining things that they put on out there, and everything's entertaining, but that really stands out. His Snowman Enterprises and how he's getting people in there and how they're starting to take over. It's kudos to him, man. He's a hell of a manager. And from what I know, he was mentored by Teddy Long. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah. You could tell he has the influence.
Yeah.
He has the influence. He's a manipulator. I like that about him.
Yeah. So shout out to him, Snowman Enterprises. Shout out to Maya World. Shout out to Misty Marks.
Shout out
to Mac the Franchise.
Shout out to Mac the Franchise. Yeah. He actually did us a solid. You'll hear it coming out shortly, but he did us a solid. Shout out to Maya World. We're actually gonna have Misty Marks on tomorrow, so
copy that. And shout out to Izzy as well.
Yes, shout out to Izzy Moreno.
Yeah, shout out to Mission Pro Wrestling. Shout out to them. Shout out to my people over at the Dog Pound Championship Wrestling here in San Antonio, Rodney Mack, Jazz, and all the crew down there, City Boys, all them. We are the podcast that shows love to the indies. We got love for the indies.
Yes.
So if there's anybody out there in the indies that wants to do business with us, we're always open for business.
I'm going to send out a request to the Monster Factory. So Monster Factory, if you are listening to the No Gimmicks podcast, let us know you are listening. It is an open invitation to come by the show, talk to us, let the people know why you're the best wrestling school in the nation. This is an open invitation. Monster Factory, if you're listening, let us know you're listening. So, yeah. But shout out to everybody, man. Let's dive into the show, man.
Oh, real quick. Also, shout out to everybody that had us in the rankings here. You know, we out of all the podcasts on Apple, I think it was like 200 something podcasts, and No Gimmicks podcast was 86. So we appreciate that, and we're just continuing
Yes.
to go up and move up like the Jeffersons. You know what I'm saying? So we really appreciate that. We put a lot of hard work into these shows. You know what I'm saying? We're there are certain people out there that have bigger shows than us, and they consider them to be mark podcasts, is what they call them, mark podcasters. Look, we ain't on marks over here. You know, we're educated fans. Okay.
Yes.
And we don't go out of our way to disrespect anybody in the business. We just call it like it is. We we say what it is, and we always keep it 1,000 on this show.
Yep.
So, but shout out to everybody who listens to No Gimmicks and supports the No Gimmick podcast and supports the DFPN brand and all our podcasts. You know, us, Smoke Pit, which is the center, you know, podcast of this network.
Yep.
The pillars. You know, when you talk about the pillars of AEW, the pillars of the DFPN, the pillars have always been the Smoke Pit, and then Wrestling with Our Thoughts, which then later became the No Gimmicks podcast. You know, it all started from these two shows and then went into everything else that we got going on right now. So we appreciate everybody out there supporting everything that we do. And like I said, plug one more time, this Monday night, 7 p.m. Central Time, right here on the DFPN Patreon exclusive. It's going to be United States Department of Nerds, and they're going to talk about Ahsoka. Frank D. No Gimmicks going to do a pop-in, possibly, and talk about it.
Tune in. Now let's dive into the show, man. First thing, off the rip. The numbers are in. The numbers dropped conveniently right before AEW Dynamite tonight. About an hour before Dynamite kicked off. The numbers came in 72,265 fans actually attended AEW All In at Wembley Stadium, which is a significant drop off from 81,035. That is highly significant. Now, what they did responsibly report is that these are actual turnstile entries and does not indicate whether there were extra people brought in beyond the fact, or the people that may have been working in the building as part of that attendance.
Yeah.
The actual is 72,265. So Will Ospreay actually had a funny response to it. Will Ospreay actually got a tattoo of 81,035.
Oh, wow.
When that number dropped, he put out a tweet, and it's actually pretty funny. It's funny. He's like, I can't do anything about it now. My mom was mad at the tattoo and everything, man. It's like, I can't.
You get it covered up, brother.
Yeah. You can get it redone. That's about all you can do, is get it redone. But significant drop, man.
Yeah, I know. So technically now, when the numbers have come out, and then we actually have the actual number for SummerSlam at Wembley being 79,000 people, 79,000, 100 something thousand. AEW unfortunately did not beat SummerSlam 92. It wasn't the biggest wrestling event in the history of the business, but it's still an impressive number. They actually could pull in 72,000 people for a company that's been around like 5 years now. They actually could pull that many people in.
That is impressive.
And it just shows it's impressive. And a lot of people, I think about people like, ha ha. I don't understand what the ha ha is about, because they were able to make a box office with that show, and they were also to get pay-per-view buys. We don't know the numbers yet for the pay-per-view, but I'm pretty sure a lot of people watched it. And then AEW did something, and they accomplished something that people don't necessarily do. They put on one pay-per-view, and then turn around the next week and put on another one. So
both great pay-per-views too.
You know what I'm saying? So they were able to accomplish it. So kudos to AEW for pulling that off. And my thing would be here is that, as we were discussing before we started recording, that there were a number of different factors could have taken place here as to why the attendance drop was so low. Okay, number one, I believe that a lot of bots bought tickets to the show, and that's generally what happens when tickets go on sale. The machines are going to go in there and they're going to buy all the tickets so they can resell them, verify resales, which is basically they're going to jack up the prices. Right
Right.
now, and I'm going to tell you how I know this is to be a fact. Right now, here in San Antonio, Friday Night SmackDown is coming here October the 20th. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
There are several tickets. There are lots of tickets in the crowd right now that are verified resale. But the prices are crazy for them. You got tickets going for $200-$300, sitting
Yeah.
up like in the nosebleeds. You got on the floor right now $3,000 for a SmackDown. So I
That's
just think,
crazy.
yeah, bro. Like, and these, I'm gonna put it like this: I got tickets for this SmackDown show, right? I'm sitting in the front row, ringside. The tickets that I'm referring to that are like $900 to $3,000, they're way on the back on the floor. So they're like sixth,
What?
seventh row.
Is that
Yeah.
resales?
Yes.
Wow.
Right. Right. So
Wow.
I believe that AEW, this is probably what happened with AEW. But I also believe that AEW could have just been doing what WWE does, which is just taking everybody that was in the building. But even still, that's not a lot of.
That's a
I don't see that.
significant
I don't see
drop.
that. I don't see that many workers being there. I just think that what happened was they just inflated the number. And if I'm in the wrestling business and the wrestling business is a work, I'm going to inflate it because I'm going to put my product all the way up here. Why? Because
Yeah,
it
you
doesn't.
want to be seen in the best light.
You want to be seen in the best light. You want to beat the WWE at their own game. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I was telling you that Brandon Thurston was going to count every single seat at the Pontiac Silverdome to basically dispute WrestleMania 3 because nobody believes that 93,000 number. I don't believe it. So it's a lot of disputes. So what I'm getting at here is that this could potentially open up a can of worms moving forward. Because now, if I want to say I want to check out when we went to the Royal Rumble this year, WWE touted 51,000. I can now go to my city government here in San Antonio and say, "Hey, I want the numbers for the Royal Rumble," because
I said that too.
Yeah, it's a building that's owned by the city. I think the city of San Antonio. So
Yep.
I want the numbers. It's public record, and I can get those numbers. So you got to be very careful. But at the end of the day, people remember one thing: this is just show business. It's show business,
bro.
It doesn't matter. Some are fanatics with this shit. I'm like, it's
it's crazy.
It's show business. It's a it's a TV show. Like, does it really matter? Okay, yeah, they touted 80-something thousand people, and it turns out that it's not the case. Okay, is it the end of the world?
No. Realistically, you could have let them have this one. Like, realistically. Because that scenario that you talked about, but for real, that scenario that you talked about is a very real possibility, bro. It's like real. It's a real possibility. Yeah. Now, so now the expectation is probably every show's numbers have to be legit. Every single show's numbers have to be legit. So if someone comes out and they tout, say, like, let's take WrestleMania, right? WrestleMania 40. Big show coming up in Philly, 40th anniversary of WrestleMania, right? Over the course of 2 nights, they've already put out a number that an amount of like 90,000 tickets have been sold for this event, right? They've already put this number out.
Right.
Over the course of 2 days, that night they sold 90,000 tickets. I don't know how those tickets prices were fucking astronomical, but they sold 90,000 tickets. If for some reason, right, they announced the attendance number for both nights as a higher number than 90,000, somebody's got to verify it.
I think that's what they're gonna do.
Somebody's got to verify it. Like, you can't just get away with that number anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like,
are you gonna go back and verify Detroit's number 2 for SummerSlam?
Exactly. Like it's a slippery slope that I don't think people are are really paying attention to. Like y'all got to chill with this shit. Y'all
Yeah.
got to chill because all right, that's great and all, and like I'm not a fan of it. I'm really not a fan of like especially the whole showing the audience. People are starting to get more and more on that train too, like showing the audience at an AEW show, like and then attendance numbers. I'm not a fan of that because once upon a time WWE was like that, and you know what I'm saying, they were the only show in town. People had just gotten stiff over the product. But
Well, I don't mean to cut you off, but I gotta say something to that real quick.
no, go ahead, go ahead.
So, and the people that post these pictures of the attendance,
I'm not a fan of that shit.
you're posting pictures when either before the show's starting, or you're
Yeah,
posting pictures of the parts of the area that are tarped off that were never
they
sold.
weren't gonna. Yeah, they weren't gonna
You know what
put
I mean?
people there anyway.
Right. Now, are we gonna sit there and say that every AEW show is gonna be a sellout like they were? No.
No,
They're struggling right now. They are struggling. We can admit this. But at the same time, the WWE was struggling too.
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
When they weren't drawing. Okay.
Right.
WCW struggled. WCW went from selling out every single building in like 15 minutes to towards the end, there was nobody there. They turned the lights off in the top so you can see that they were back to 1992 level attendance. Okay. AEW is having that problem right now where they're drawing. It's not very good. And I'm not sure if it's the economy that's playing a big part in that. It could be, but then I
Could
don't
be.
know because I mean WWE's they're doing great business, and so I don't know what's going on over there. They just reevaluate the situation. I don't know if economically sound, if they could drop their ticket prices, that might bring people in. I remember back in the day when the WWF was really doing bad and WCW was starting to beat them. They had $12 tickets to their shows. They had $12 tickets. When the WWF came out here in '97 for the Royal Rumble, remember it was Shawn Michaels versus Psycho Sid for the WWF Championship. They were giving tickets away on the radio to just bump up the attendance. And they would have like $5 tickets inside the Alamo Dome for the Rumble just to bring people in to show that we can still draw this amount of people to a WWF show because they had just been murdered and mocked and stomped by WCW. So I think that AEW just needs to reevaluate where they are as far as the tickets or whatever and what you're bringing. If you're not putting on a satisfactory product, then people aren't going to come. But I actually think that there's an upswing here. I actually liked some of the stuff I saw last week on AEW television. I loved the confrontation between Samoa Joe and MJF. I loved the confrontation between Hangman Page and Swerve Strickland. I'm digging Prince Nana and his dance. That Brian Cage is a beast out there. He's a monster. You know what I mean? I'm digging Ricky Starks with Big Bill. That's good shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Good stuff. So they got a lot of stuff to offer. So just when it comes to the attendance thing, I don't really think it's a big deal. It's basically what it comes down to. Yeah, are you being truthful with the audience? Yeah, maybe not. But is that data that was given to AEW? I'm assuming that was the numbers they were given to possibly is what's going on here. So
yeah.
I don't know. I think they were going by what it comes down to. I think when you have a bot buy all the tickets, you count that as a purchase. AEW gets paid either way, whether somebody shows up or they don't. So I think that could have been some of the big factors in this is that these tickets were sold, but they were bought by bots, and the bots put them up for resale, and people just didn't come. But they can count that as a sale because we're going here, people, by the turnstile number. Everyone who went through the turnstile to get into the event. So you got to look at it from all these different ways here, and that could be a possible excuse as to why the attendance was so low.
That is plausible. That's plausible. Bots is very plausible because give or take, and this could all have been in the beginning too. Like, say at least 10,000 bots got these tickets, right?
Yeah.
And you get let's not even say 10, let's say 6. That's still 5,000 people not showing up, give or take, out of 81,000, that's not that bad. It's really not that bad.
Right. It just basically means that from the point of view of the turnstile, with giving a legit number, you're not the biggest event in pro wrestling history.
Right.
It's just not. The biggest event in pro wrestling history is still going to be the Collision of Korea that WCW put on, which people were forced to go, but still, it's still going to be the biggest event in pro wrestling history. That's just is what it is.
Yep.
So,
and it is what it is, man. It is what it is.
It is what it is. I think people I'm not going to lose any sleep over the fact that it's not the biggest drawn event in wrestling history. What I will say, though, is that I made a very interesting observation today on AEW Shop's website. And I don't know what's going on here. I'm not, not going to say the guy is not telling the truth or whatever. I'm just going to say I just thought it was kind of funny because these things usually don't happen. So I was on AEW Shop today and I put in CM Punk's name. And lo and behold, I didn't get the 404 redirect. I got CM Punk's merchandise. And I thought that was kind of odd that CM Punk's merchandise would still be on the website, but yet you fired the guy with cause. But they're still selling his merch. Now, he's not on the active roster, for what I can see. And then, before we recorded, I sent you CM Punk's Pro Wrestling Tees store, which shows a shit ton of merchandise. Then I sent you the one for CM Punk's AEW store. There's something strange here.
Yeah.
And then we brought up the fact that usually when someone is fired or released or whatever the situation may be, they usually don't sell any more merch of that person. You usually get the 404 redirect. When Hulk Hogan got fired by the WWF for the whole scandal he went through, they completely scrubbed him from the website. You couldn't find anything Hulk Hogan. Same thing with when, anybody who gets released or whatever, they're done with the merch. They can't sell it anymore. CM Punk's merchandise is still up for sale right now on AEW Shop or Shop AEW. And I don't know what's going on here. I don't know if the guy is actually gone and we're being worked. I don't know what the deal is. I'm not, speculating that whatever, but this is just an observation that I saw today. I don't know what's going on, man.
When you told me this, the first thing I went and did, because I knew Sonny Kiss is no longer with AEW, and I knew Sonny Kiss had merch on Shop AEW. I went and searched for Sonny Kiss. I got the 404. Now, mind you, CM Punk, it's what? 2 weeks from all in?
Yeah.
A week he's been gone? Over a week he's been gone?
Yeah.
Merchandise is still there. Still there.
Yeah.
I am of the belief right now that we got worked. Which would be awesome. I'm not gonna lie to you. It would be awesome. If this was indeed a work, it's awesome. And it would also be the biggest of middle fingers to the dirt sheets.
Yeah.
It would be. So, and while doing that, I think it also exposes some people.
I don't know, dude. I like I said, I just think it's kind of weird. It's kind of funny.
I'm not saying he did.
It's just weird because like I said, I know for a fact when someone's fired and the
Oh, that shit goes away.
serious allegations that were made here, it's weird to me. And what's even more
Very.
weird is that it happened around the same time that Punk had this issue last year. Same time. But then you look at, Ace Steel was fired by, released by AEW. So
Or was he? That could be a word.
I don't know.
On the surface, so there's similarities there too.
Brother, I have no idea.
there's similarities. So CM Punk got suspended last year. Ace Steel actually got fired.
Yeah.
CM Punk got fired. Well, Ace Steel got fired after CM Punk got suspended.
Yeah. And then
same thing this year.
Yeah. And then let me also bring up real quick. So yesterday was the big New York Stock Exchange, the debut of TKO Holdings.
Yep.
The McMahon era is over for now until they realize that this was a complete colossal mistake and Vince buys it back.
I don't think so.
I
don't think so.
I
think. Hold on, let's break this down.
Well, let me get on. Hold on.
Yeah, get your point out. Let's break this down.
Yeah. So when it comes to CM Punk in the WWE, Nick Khan, who is the president of WWE, had this to say. He told this to ESPN. Listen, we only have respect for Phil. We appreciate his run here. We appreciate what he did and what he tried to do with the UFC. Not many people can get in there and actually do what he did. So when we have respect for Phil, we wish him nothing but the best. Now, that to me is an automatic, we're not interested in CM Punk. We appreciate his run here. But on the surface. But at the same time, if you're Nick Khan, are you going to come out and actually say, yeah, we'd love to have CM Punk back. We can do business with CM Punk. Are you actually going to come out and publicly say that right now? No.
Nope.
Because you know why? Because you don't know if what is actually going on is actually going on. If, let's just say, hypothetically, CM Punk is still a part of AEW, CM Punk is still elite. That means CM Punk is still under contract. If WWE was to talk to CM Punk, it would be contract tampering. So, I'm going to say this. Where is the Survivor Series this year? Chicago? That's what I'm hearing. Is that Chicago?
Is it? I don't know. I don't remember them ever announcing anything for Survivor Series.
I believe Chicago. I might be wrong. It's either Chicago or Boston. You can help us out there, Mr. Black, and I'll keep on here. If there's a scenario where they're in Chicago for Survivor Series this year, that to me would be the perfect place to bring in CM Punk if you're going to bring him in, because you can then have him come into the Royal Rumble, and then maybe CM Punk can get that spot at WrestleMania that he's always wanted, that he never got. But that's only if this whole thing is legitimate. Because I just kind of find it odd that CM Punk has not said a damn thing about any of this. But at the same time, CM Punk was very quiet after his dismissal, after he left WWE too. He didn't say anything for a while until he went on Coca Bennett's podcast.
Yep.
So it's very interesting. And I'm kind of wondering, okay, if this is legitimate and he's actually gone from AEW, will CM Punk break his silence at the Survivor Series?
Survivor Series
wouldn't that be the perfect place? It's in Chicago.
At the All-State Arena.
Yeah. So wouldn't that be crazy if that Cult of Personality music came on and Punk was to come down there, and this is the first time we've heard from CM Punk?
Fuck, bro. That would be
in months. And you can give Punk a trial run. Because here's the thing. I don't really think that CM Punk, if he came to WWE, back to WWE right now, I don't think CM Punk would have the same issues he had before.
Oh no, he wouldn't.
And he wouldn't have the same issues he's having in AEW. Because
No.
the funny part about it, once again, like I said, nobody from AEW is really coming out knocking CM Punk.
No, Ricky Starks just put out a thing giving him his flowers, bro.
Right. So there's something going on here. I don't know what it is. I remember when Dax Harwood was when the FTR were coming out, and one of them did the X for Punk. I kind of wonder what's going on. So I'm gonna just sit back and watch what's playing here. And I could be all wrong. This all could be just a coincidence.
Yeah, it could be. It very well could be.
Yeah,
it's happened before.
Yeah, that's happened before. But let's go ahead and talk about TKO Holdings, the big reveal yesterday, which is basically the UFC and WWE combined together. And a lot of people were saying, well, Vince doesn't have any more control. Vince ain't going nowhere.
You are insane to believe otherwise.
Vince McMahon never left to begin with. I don't know how many times people are going to say that. He never left. Now, I'm going to tell you right now what I saw from that. What I saw yesterday when I was watching it is I was looking at body language, right? And I saw that Triple H looked like he could be elsewhere. He did not want to really be there. I mean, he was there.
Well, he's not
the board of directors.
Yeah, not on the board.
Which is like slap in the face. And now he answers to Nick Khan.
Yeah.
You think Triple H likes that?
I'm pretty sure he doesn't. But I mean, this kind of thing in a corporate setting is normal. And like you just seen Frank Riddick, he's gone. But it's to be expected. Like you're gonna see a lot more shuffling of the.
Oh yeah, definitely. We're gonna see a lot more shuffling from both sides, from UFC and WWE.
Yeah,
that's generally what happens. But for people out there that think that Vince McMahon doesn't have any power and all, Vince isn't going anywhere.
Vince crazy.
Nick Khan and Dana White, and people can believe this or don't believe it. You need to look at Vince McMahon's deal and what's going on here. Ari Emanuel is ahead. Vince McMahon is basically number 2 behind him in this new organization. Dana White and Nick Khan answer to Vince. Period. Yep. That's the way it goes. Vince McMahon now has a say so in WWE. He also has a say so in the UFC, whether you like it or you don't. That's just the way it is. And Ari Emanuel, Ari said this deal wasn't ever going to happen if Vince didn't agree to stay on. So So y'all can shut that shit down. The man himself said this deal wasn't going to happen unless Vince McMahon came on, and the only way that Vince McMahon can get out is if Vince McMahon resigns or he dies. Because people were saying, "Oh, he can vote; they'll vote him out, whatever." Did you not hear what Ari said on CNBC? The only way Vince is going to be gone is Vince will have to resign or pass away. That's the only way he's going to leave, because they wouldn't have done it without. He trusts Vince. He's known Vince for years, and that's what it is. There's nobody else he can see in this to do this except for Vince McMahon. That's what he said. So people, you just be done with it. It's Vince is going anywhere.
Vince got more powerful.
He did. He did
with that move. He got way more powerful.
But I will say, I think now that you talk real quick, I don't want to be I don't want to be Disco Inferno, but I will say this. I do believe a few years down the line, I think Vince might try to buy it back.
I don't think so. Here's why. Because this deal it works for not only wrestling fans, but combat sports fans.
How so?
Here's how. We talked about this a couple episodes ago, like when they come together and they do these events, right? If they start doing more events, right? So UFC just went to Australia this past past Saturday. They went to Australia, put on a phenomenal event. WWE influence was already a part of this show. Already. From the production packages, how they did they just basically did vignettes on
Well, but
fighters.
that's not
But
anything new.
listen to me though. No, it was different. It was different. Like Vince has a knack for making you care about shit. Like, and it was evident to where it wasn't before, it was there now. And the production level of UFC has already been kicked up times 10. It's already a better product. If they keep working this, they're eventually going to work themselves to where they can have an entire weekend just for that company, to where you can go run a UFC event in a city, and you can have a WWE pay-per-view event in that same city the next day. It works for them. It just works for them because you now have the two most powerful companies in both of their respective genres putting on events.
See, but the wrestling influence on the UFC has been there for like 10 years. They started stealing basically the cool factors of pro wrestling a long time ago, way before TKO ever was a thing.
Right, but just listen to me. It's no longer stealing because now you have the man in charge of both of them.
Oh, I get that. But I'm just saying that Vince didn't have any dealings with this until the shit closed Tuesday.
Right.
So he had nothing to do with this prior. That's what I'm getting at. Like the production style has always been there because this is what they stole from pro wrestling. It's been
no. What I'm telling you is it closed, but I'm of the belief. I'm not saying it happened. I noticed watching the UFC event this past Saturday a huge difference from the event before it. So UFC 293 was this past Saturday. There was a huge difference in between 292 and 293 in the level of production. And this is like a couple of months. There was a huge difference. Like everything looked crisp. It was a crisp product. The camera angles, and this is like little things that you probably don't notice unless you're paying attention. The camera angles from the fighter walkouts were different. It wasn't like they had the style of the WWE, but now I'm telling you, it was on another level. So, it was what you would see if you were watching the WWE product. And you know, me and you, the production level of WWE is high quality. That's right. What this UFC event was. It was high quality production. It was already there. They had already been working on that shit.
So let me ask you this. So do you think that now that the two companies are associated with WWE, you know, being what it is, UFC being what it is, you think that this hurts the UFC to be, because UFC is trying to go for being a legitimate combat sport, and you have WWE, which is pretty much a sports entertainment, is a predetermined outcome. Do you think this actually hurts the UFC being basically being in bed now with the WWF?
No, in that sense, but I can see, they're two different things, right?
Right.
I can see where it can hurt the UFC. I can see that. For instance, they have a champion there. He just won the belt. They have a champion there at the UFC. Like he is off. He is way off, right? To what you'd want to see in a champion. And I could see the more that somebody's going to have to tone him down, because the shit that he says, it just don't line up.
What did he
just
say?
don't. So after he won the belt, his first press conference after winning the belt, like, granted, he's had a rough upbringing, blah blah blah. He says he was like, "This is why I believe women should be like in the kitchen. That's where the woman's place is. It's in the kitchen." Like,
so he's cutting a wrestling promo.
Yeah, pretty much. But like, totally, like that's how he feels.
Okay, but what? So what's wrong with that?
Huh?
What's wrong with that?
Bro,
Do you know how many people have said that in wrestling?
I know this.
We used to see people throw promos all the time. You're a woman. You should be in the bed. You should be in the kitchen, barefoot and pregnant, and making me dinner.
Right, but that's not a promo. That's his actual feeling. Like, that's how he feels.
I don't really think that's a big deal. That's his First Amendment. If he wants to feel that way, he can feel that way.
Okay, but I can see how people will come after him. I can see that.
If people would come out there for that, then they're just pretty much pussies.
Hey man, listen, the world is softer, kinder.
Pussy.
Hey, call it what you want. World is softer,
I call it
kinder.
pussy.
All right, I'm just telling you. I can see where saying some shit like that is going to be an issue.
Yeah, it's going to bring him heat.
Yeah, yes, of course, it's going to bring him heat.
You know, and Vince probably loves that shit. Because we've had that in sports entertainment for years.
Yeah, I know.
Rick Ferguson come out and said, I understand it's a different time, but dude.
But I can also see how somebody will want to pay to see him get his ass kicked too, which is I'm pretty sure
that's the point of his selling tickets.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Vince wants.
He comes off when you say something like that. Okay, he's coming off as a heel.
Now that's where the UFC and the WWE are different. For us, it could be like, oh, he's cutting heel promo. For them, they're like, what the fuck are you doing? Like,
oh, they know what the fuck they're doing.
Stop
trying to be like this shit is so, you know, listen, it's legit to a certain point. All right, let's not get it twisted.
Yeah, I know that. But that's where that line is, right?
Yeah.
And this is why I asked the question, what policy are they going to follow? Because those are two different policies, right? It's two different policies.
I don't know, bro.
And that type of stuff that has to get knocked out. And I think,
well, why does it have to get knocked out?
Because it's two different ways of doing things, right? The WWE has their wellness policy, UFC has their wellness policy.
Okay.
They don't line up. You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't. Because there's certain things that may be allowed in the WWE that are not allowed in UFC.
Well, like, but these things are separate though. See, this is what people don't understand too about the situation here. These companies are going to be ran as separate entities. So WWE's day-to-day business isn't going to change. Neither will the UFC's business. They just answer to McMahon. That's all it is.
Okay. It's a top-heavy deal.
Yeah, it's like it's just there's nothing going. It's like, oh, okay, now they have it. We're gonna say, okay, well, they're gonna take Bruce Buffer from UFC, right? And whatever. Yeah, that's not gonna happen. You're like, we're gonna take Bruce Buffer and put him over on Raw, and we're gonna have Samantha Irwin and put her over on UFC. No, we as fans, critics, whatever, observers, we won't notice any subtle changes with anything. We're not going to notice anything because they're going to run these two entities separately. They're together, but they're not.
I mean, you can't take certain practices though.
Absolutely,
you can figure out what works.
It's just Nick Khan. Nick Khan is running WWE. Dana White's running UFC. They run the day-to-day operations of the two organizations. Ari said when they did the press conference that they're not going to do anything in WWE. Their thing is basically looking at the numbers. They're running the business side. They're not going to interfere with creative or anything like that. They're not going to do that. That's what Vince McMahon said. Being in the woods and all that type of shit. In the trenches.
Right.
He says Ari's not
I ain't
worried
gonna
about
have
any of
time
that,
for
and
it.
he didn't when Endeavor got UFC, they didn't interfere there either. It ran as its own separate. Their only thing is to make money. They put the number out there that the WWE and UFC were worth this amount of money, which I think is bullshit. But that's the number they pulled out of their ass. So
UFC has built themselves. WWE
yeah,
is probably legit, but UFC has built themselves.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the valuation. I think the numbers are a little inflated there a little bit because, like right now, people probably don't know, but they're having they're asking Fox for $300 million to keep SmackDown on Fox, and right now, I don't think Fox is willing to pay that. Yeah, they want $300 million, and I don't think Fox is willing to pay that. So right now, the other two contenders could possibly end up being Disney and Amazon. That's where we're at right now, because there's a strong belief
Disney
that Fox
would make sense.
It's a strong belief that Fox probably will not renew. Fox is not happy right now with WWE. They're not happy with SmackDown.
Why?
Well, because they expect SmackDown to be doing threes, and SmackDown's not doing threes. It's doing 2 million something viewers a week, but they were promised threes and all that, and they haven't gotten that.
You can't promise them that shit, bro. Like
that's what WWE did.
You wasn't getting half that before you went to Fox.
I understand that, but that's what Fox got that on the first episode. That was The Rock when he was on there, and they got over 3.
Yeah,
so they thought that's what they thought. So Fox is not willing to invest that in renewing SmackDown. That's kind of where they're at.
Makes sense, but still.
And I think that's kind of one of the reasons why they've taken Jey Uso, put him on Raw, because, maybe moving forward, SmackDown is not going to be as important as it once was.
Shows you how much they think about it. If that was Raw, they'd be moving mountains.
SmackDown has always been the B show. Even with Roman on the show, it's still the B show. Always has been, always will be. Yeah. Raw is a more established brand.
That's what I'm saying. They'd move mountains to make that happen for Raw.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Woo! All right, man. So we have a new segment before we get out of here.
Yep, it's all back in the day.
Back in the day.
Yep.
We're gonna react to something.
Yep.
And I'm going to cue it up. Let the people know what you chose to react to today.
So I chose to react to a segment that happened at the Clash of Champions in WCW. And this was the really what kind of, they had wrestled before, but this was leading up to Sting finally getting the World Heavyweight Championship match against Ric Flair. So right now we're going to react to Sting getting kicked out of the Four Horsemen. And it's one of the best segments I ever seen. It's a shit. And what's funny is that this happened. The Horsemen entered here as baby faces. They left as heels, and they still had to wrestle later on in the night in a cage match against other heels. And also at the end of the show, this is where Sting got hurt. Sting legitimately got hurt when Sting dove on the cage, and Doug Dillinger pulled Sting down and messed up his knee. And Sting was out for like 6-7 months, whatever it was. So he couldn't have the match with Flair.
Yeah.
And then Sting finally had the match at the Great American Bash 1990 in Baltimore. So we're reacting to Sting getting kicked out of the Four Horsemen.
All right. Let's bring up this gimmick tube, and here we go. Jim Cornette and Jim Ross, bro.
Oh, boy. That right there, that was great. That was good shit.
That was good shit. Yeah. That was good shit.
He says you're being too nice. No, you're being too nice.
Nah. Fuck that.
Yep.
Fuck that. Let me talk to him. You being too nice to this motherfucker, man. Hey, look, listen. You got 2 hours, bro. 2. Then you fucking put
good.
your hands on him.
Yeah, that was good. That right there was good. And you can tell, like, with some of the stuff that Triple H was doing when he was in Evolution, he got it for Ric Flair.
Yeah.
Because we already know he's a big Ric Flair, fan. He, took him out from Flair, and Flair was his favorite wrestler or whatever. But you can tell it here when he was slapping him around. How many times we see Triple H do that to people?
All the time. All the time.
Yeah, that was good shit.
Kick him when he's down. Yeah, that was good shit.
Yeah, Horseman, the prison. And the reason why Sting was put into the group to begin with is because, remember, Tully and Arn were supposed to come over originally back to WCW. But Tully had Jim Herd had Tully take a drug test because of the stories he heard at the WWF. And then Tully failed the drug test. And then Jim Herd rescinded the offer. So that's why they had to come up with the story Sting becomes a Horseman. So. But
Great
that
story.
was back in the day.
Great story. Great segment. Great segment. All right, man. Final thoughts. What you got?
Final thoughts is don't forget this coming Monday night, USDN, United States Department of Nerds, 7 p.m. Central Time, talking about Ahsoka Episode 5. Join us on the Patreon for that exclusive show right there. We're going to break it down. Frankie's going to do a pop-in possibly. And other than that, just keep supporting the No Gimmicks Podcast. Keep supporting the DFPN and what we're doing here. Buy the merch at the Teespring and all that. And other than that, once again, help control the pet population out there. Have your pets spayed and neutered. Okay? That's really important. I'm keeping the legacy of Bob Barker. I'm keeping it going.
Keeping it alive.
Keeping it alive, brother.
I like it. All right, tomorrow we also have Misty Marks coming on the show. We're going to catch up with her and all that she's got going on now. And again, Monday night, tune in to USDN. This is going to be a great show. I will be watching. I will be watching on Monday night. So I will forego Monday Night Raw.
Oh, we all do.
Yep.
People don't know me real quick. This is what I do on Mondays, people. But if I'm up before I go to work, Monday for me, I go on the network and watch Nitro and Raw.
From back in the day.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, or I'll put on an episode of Primetime Wrestling or something. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I watch segments from Raw. I watched the Dominic Mysterio stuff from Monday. That segment with him and Kevin Owens and Jay. Hey, bro, you can tell it's piped in now. Like, it was piped in. You can tell. I'm watching the crowd.
They're going to 10. They're going to 10. Here's what kills me about it. It's authentic to a point.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like they get the initials.
Yep.
And they run with it. Because by the time someone else picks up the mic or they start talking, it's gone. I'm like, crowd noise don't work like that, bro. Like it takes a second for it to die down.
Yeah, I was watching. I was paying close attention to when Dominic started talking, and some people were booing, but I'm looking. I'm looking at the crowd, and people are just standing there, not doing anything. Yep. But the sound is like way high, so it's like whatever.
You know who's gotten away from that? AEW. AEW's gotten away from
silly. It was really silly.
They stopped doing it.
They shouldn't have to do, and I hate that because we didn't have to do that. They used to just be able to elicit a real reaction.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, and that's one of the things that I do like about AEW is that they do elicit an actual crowd reaction.
Right. For what it's worth, if you're saying like there's a low attendance, whoever is in attendance is actually engaged.
Yeah.
So.
But other than that, man, that's all I got this week, brother.
Yeah, man, that's all I got too. So, let's go ahead and wrap it up. Thank you.
Yeah, next week's show though, we're gonna take a little bit of a deep dive into the Usos. We didn't get to it this week, but I want to talk about next week because I just want to talk about the just what they're doing here. You got Jay, on one show, Raw. You got Jimmy on the other show. They released both their theme songs. We're gonna talk about all this stuff next week on the next episode.
Let's let this week
Yeah.
play out and see what
Yeah.
happens this week.
Yeah.
I want to give Jimmy enough time.
Yeah. Well, so we got something to say about this.
I want to give Jimmy some time. Let's see what Jimmy's gonna do on
Yep.
SmackDown, and we'll come back to it. But yeah,
Yes, sir.
I'm down for that. I'm down for that.
Yep.
But yeah, man. Other than that, thank you guys for tuning in to episode 52 of the No Gimmicks podcast here on the DFPN. Until next week, y'all be easy and enjoy the fucking wrestling. Peace.